सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज.
The miseries of material existence and the most hopeless conditions of life is the best possible opportunity to turn to God.
Bhakti presents The Gift of Desperation, a Bhakti recovery podcast. This is a 12-step based Bhakti-oriented space. Here we share our experience, strength, and hope in the spirit of recovery from addictions and associated behaviors. Welcome. Hello. Hi, Leslie. I've got a wonderful guest today, Leslie V. Leslie is from the West Coast. Leslie leads up the Bhakti Recovery Group CODA meetings. Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.
And I'm really happy. We're becoming friends. And I just love you because I think you're so funny. And, you know, you and I think we really like kind of communicate on the same level with like a lot of humor and a lot of deepness and a lot of all of that all together mixed up in one. And I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate you for that. And you have a really interesting story. So I'd love to just dig right in and first of all, what do you do? So what do you do for a living? And, you know, where are you at right now before we dive into asking how you came into recovery and how you came into Bhakti?
Thanks, Jiva. I'm so happy to have this conversation with you. Where am I right now? I live in the Pacific Northwest. I moved here after getting clean in the Bay Area. And I didn't think I would stay, but then I met this great guy who had a little business and quickly put roots down. And we're in the restaurant industry.
Ooh, that's a hard one.
Oh yeah, don't even get me started on it. It's
Are you still there?
Oh yeah.
Holy cow. I didn't know that about you, Leslie. Okay.
I compartmentalize a lot, Jiva. That's one of the things in my recovery that I talk about a lot because, you know, recovery is about integration. And, you know, Bhakti recovery is especially about integration and union. So it's easy to compartmentalize. Oh, well, this is just part of my life that is over here.
Right.
I'm gesturing for the listeners. And okay, so restaurant industry, I do most of the print and some online graphic design and had freelanced for a long time. And that's what took me to the Bay Area. And Jiva knows.
I'm thinking about the fun things we said back and forth to each other. She sends me the funniest little like meme thing. Like, I don't even know what they're called. Like, what are they? Like just little.
Yeah, man. I'm using my powers for good. Like just in the last couple of weeks, I've broken you at least twice.
In public.
In an inappropriate time with something stupid I sent you.
I mean, even before, love it.
Before our conversation today, which I feel like is going to be ranging, I sent you that meme of Too Short that I made for it's actually one of my services that I do for one of the groups I participate in. Is we hear lecture and then we do like memes that go with the lecture, and this happened to be Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 verse 24, that when I have it here, one should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. Ooh. One should abandon without exception all natural desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. You know, it's a big one. And Krishna's speaking after this, Arjuna's like, hey man, that sounds like a big order. I don't know if I'm up for it. But in the purport to this verse, Srila Prabhupada talks about the qualities of determination and faith, and uses
Wow.
this beautiful, beautiful story of a sparrow who lays her eggs on the beach. And of course, the ocean takes the nest away, takes her eggs away. And she's so upset, she appeals to the ocean and says, hey man, I need my eggs back. Those are my babies. And the ocean laughs at her. So she says, I'm going to dry you up. And beak by beak by beak, she's trying to drink up the ocean, take a little. I'm going to bring it back to the meme, but, in this story, the sparrow, it has so much determination. And in the action, she's taking action. Garuda hears about the action of this little sparrow, and he comes to her aid, and ultimately Garuda, the carrier of Lord Vishnu, gets the eggs back for this beautiful little sparrow, mama sparrow. So in the
Love
purport,
that story.
it's so cool. So in
I
the
know.
purport,
And you tell it so well. I've heard it before, but you tell it so
thank you.
nicely. It's like, and go ahead. Sorry.
I appreciate that, and you're wearing sparrows on your shoulders, which is
I
kind of
am.
sweet.
I am.
But
skulls on the other.
Oh yeah. I try to, I really try to apply these teachings into my life and integrate. So the last paragraph of the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, similarly, the practice of yoga, especially bhakti yoga in Krishna consciousness, may appear to be a very difficult job. But if anyone follows the principles with great determination, the Lord will surely help, for God helps those who help themselves.
Boom.
Boom, that's 12 step.
Oh my God. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that in. That is an amazing example of how much in common, not only in common, just how similar 12 steps in bhakti is. Yes, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Really nice. And I hope you better ask somebody, listeners out there, that's dropping knowledge. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what brought you anyway into recovery in the first? I'm sorry, did I cut you off? Did you want to say something before?
I was just going to bring up the meme. One last thing. So I sent Jiva this meme of Too Short, the rapper, and he's got his fingers up, two fingers, and I made the meme, and it says 2 fingers too short, because this relates to the Damodar pastime of the little baby Krishna being naughty, crawling away, and his mother trying to corral him and binding him with a rope. And as she binds the belly of this little chubby, cute little baby up to mischief, the rope is always 2 fingers too short. So those 2 fingers represent faith and determination. Ooh. And again, I know, I'm repeating what my teachers tell me. This is,
Well, I don't think your teachers told you about too short, right? I think that's a Leslie thing, right? Yeah. See, that's why I love Leslie. She brings it into Too Short. What's going on? Love it.
Oh my God.
Oh, so funny.
Too Short. All glories to Too Short.
Yeah, all glories. You can Krishnaize everything, bring it all into Krishna consciousness. It's amazing. That's what it's about, isn't it? Oh, I love that. I'm going to use that if that's fine. I'm going to use that everywhere.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's just make it a thing, and who knows,
totally.
maybe he'll come around to.
Yeah, we'll make it a thing and but like hashtag Krishna consciousness too short. Oh, that's so funny.
Oh my God. Okay.
Anyway, so how did you get what brought you into recovery? What led you to that path of recovery?
Oh God, I don't even know where to start. Hmm. I I don't even know where to start, Jiva. I know I was born addicted. Like our
Mhm,
literature says, we're born into this body in a conditioned
mhm.
state.
Yeah.
And I brought karmas into this lifetime and, chose this path of addiction and recovery. my During COVID, I had this big chunk of inner child work around sugar because there's this family story about me as an infant, 1971, 72 infant, when I would cry in the crib, my mom would bring me a bottle of Tang and
No way.
Tang, yeah,
Forgive her for she knew not better.
yeah. No, I mean I've done all that work too, the forgiveness around mama. Um,
Oh my
and Tang, Tang. And if for those who don't know what Tang is,
God.
it's just sugar and orange food coloring mixed with water.
Does
So
it even
I
exist anymore? It's the white person's
have no
Kool-Aid, actually.
idea.
It's white people Kool-Aid, right?
White
Tang.
people cool. Oh my
Am
God.
I even allowed to say this? Is this like
Uh,
even politically correct anymore? Am I allowed to say things like that?
I don't know. It's hard
I
to
don't
keep
mean
up.
anything I don't mean anything by anything. I
Yeah,
love everybody. That's all.
me
That's my message. So
too.
go ahead. All right,
No,
so go
I
ahead.
mean, everyone's my teacher.
Yeah.
So, sugar was my first addiction, at least that
Mm,
I can identify in this lifetime, because
right.
I would cry and I would get some Tang. Cry, Tang, satisfy me. But there's never enough. There's never enough Tang. And during, the lockdown, when everything stopped, the momentum of my energy, my life kept moving forward. It was you know, like if you've ever slammed into something and got winded
Mm,
and
mm-hmm.
but your body is still moving forward. That's what I felt like when the lockdown happened, and that's what brought me to Bhakti. But what brought me into recovery was just having a lot of curiosity and having access to substances in somewhat of an uh, just latchkey kid, another
Mm,
80s thing. um,
yeah.
Everyone, I lived in a middle class suburban home in Denver. We traveled a lot. My dad's work took us overseas, and we lived in England for some years in the late 70s, so as I was a little kid. um,
Do you have
and
siblings?
in the middle, go
In the middle.
figure.
Okay.
And
How many kids? So three?
of three, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Younger brother, who's amazing. There's lots of love in our family. Lots of love. I have
Beautiful.
no, there's no reason to have gone the path I went with the spiral. And so just over the years, being exposed to and taking opportunities to try different substances, alcohol being the gateway for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, Smoking cigarettes. Um, so by, I don't know, 13, 14, trying all the things, um, having the list of things that I said I would never do. And by 19, doing
Slowly
all of
checking
those
them all
things.
off. Yeah.
Yeah,
Slowly checking up those. I'll
editing
never
the
do
list.
this, never do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just had um, you mentioned when we talked yesterday that you're from like an artistic family. I have that also, like being encouraged to express myself, you know, explore. My mother would like put down a little display of, like flowers and some little knickknacks and have me sit and draw. So there's this
Mm.
encouragement to, to be creative,
Explore,
explore.
explore.
And in that
Yes.
came, like getting the copy of Our Body Ourselves, as as a teenager, so like my mother, sweet mother, um, she grew up in a stifled household, and she didn't want us kids to not know. And so, there was a lot of like, just explore. And for whatever reason, that gave me like zero reverence for myself or others.
Mhm. Yeah,
That we weren't.
it really can lead to that. I mean, if you don't have, you can explore, but you need solid boundaries. I mean, I know I didn't have any boundaries. You
Yeah,
might have, but I didn't have any, like none. I
none.
was feral. It was like out of the woo-ha and okay, you're on your own, kid. Like I'll provide you food and shelter, but everything else you got to figure it out. I don't know how it was
Yeah,
for you, but that's kind of how it was for me. So it's difficult.
yeah.
I think kids and everybody needs boundaries. We need boundaries. We need safe spaces. We need guardrails. We can't just
Mhm.
explore. I mean, you can, but I don't know. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I mean that is I've come to that conclusion clearly through living some decades and having to try on guardrails because you know it's not in my nature to have boundaries.
Mm,
And this is what has led me to codependency, anonymous, coda, just exploring that after 20 years of sobriety. It took that long to find
same for me.
coda.
Same for
Yeah.
me. It took about 18 years of sobriety to know I needed it, and 20 years to actually do it.
Yeah.
To actually do it. Yeah, totally.
Seriously.
I get that. I so get that. So leading up to your, let's say your bottom.
Um,
So your substance bottom. So you started experimenting with drugs. You started doing drugs. You
yep.
started having that life. One thing led to the other, and it wound up doing what? Where were you at the end of
Yeah.
that scenario?
Um, at the end of that scenario, college graduate, heroin habit.
Fucking hell. Excuse my
Yeah.
language. Sorry. How did
Yeah.
you wind up going to college and feeding a heroin habit? I have friends who
Yeah.
did that too, but
Jekyll and Hyde, man. I mean, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous talks about that. Like, it's so easy to live a double life.
yeah,
And
Dr. Bob,
as
man, that was my,
totally,
that
it's
was
my
the best,
boy.
that's the best story ever.
Yeah, and I learned that I went to a private high school for a couple of years where I had, I did excellent, I got excellent marks in school, and but also was behaviorally a nightmare. And
Mm,
I have charisma, so I influence others. And I would take people down with me in my little schemes of whatever. It was a boarding school. We had
mm,
curfews. There were those were guardrails, and I didn't care about the guardrails. So um, I learned in high school that there's a time and a place. Like, do your thing. You can, Leslie, go ahead and do your crazy stuff. But when you get back to campus, you are focused on school. And it like there's a point in time, I was probably 16, where those parts of me cleaved, where
wow,
I
wow.
am I can be, who remember Eddie Haskell from Leave It
Of
to
course,
Beaver? Like
Eddie Haskell.
I can be an Eddie Haskell and just like like be right in front of the authority figure or parent or cop, like, put on the show. And then
Yes.
over here, I'm being the, nightmare and
Wow.
mischief maker. So
You know
what
what's
led up?
you know what's really interesting about that when I hear that about your story? It's like, okay, Leslie is good in school. She's pulling, her marks. That means she has the free ticket to do whatever the hell she wants to do, as long as she's, as long as she's pulling her weight and measuring up in society what successful means, right? Success means good grades, do that. As long as you do that, it's like that free ticket to do anything else. And that's, the thing is there's two sides to that. The one side is it's a really dangerous way to think because it encourages us to, compartmentalize things and lead these double lives, which eventually wind up in crash and burn. Or the other good side to that, it keeps the last bit of something functional in our lives that we can do, right? So that's like, and it can really draw out your bottom, which, and that's why your story is unique to you, and to everyone else. And it's so important. It's so important to know that every person has their unique story, and that whatever it was in your story, it's what brought you to what you are now, and how you're there now. So I'm sorry, I just had that little thought. So go ahead. So that your condition, you came to this space, you were doing well in school, you were the bad girl on the side, and then.
Yeah. Just that, like, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Right.
And that really worked for me. Gemini also.
Oh yeah.
I
Perfect.
identify, and this is something in Bhakti that I'm trying to undo, these identifying with these, middle child, Gemini,
Yes.
overachiever, but, fuck up over here too. So like,
right.
So getting to the bottom, in there too, in college, I met the devotees, and I'll tell you that story in a sec, but because it's hilarious.
Of course it is.
So I worked in the newspaper industry as a graphic designer, and had the same kind of thing happen where I was able to hold it down, hold it together, be professional. It was the 90s, so there was, I'd go to work dressed in like, Courtney Love style Kinder whore dress, and but had a very professional remember that was a thing too.
Totally, I so remember that.
And but then like get fired after 2 years. So I had a string of very professional, and I was a good employee, able to take care of what I needed to take care of, but they would overlook my behavior because I was using, until they couldn't overlook it anymore. And that happened again and again, city after city, and ended up in the Bay Area when the dot-com crash happened.
Yeah, I was going to say,
it was gnarly.
Yeah, the Bay Area, if you're in the Bay Area and you're a heroin addict, ooh, I don't know if that's such a, any place sucks if you're a heroin addict, but that's there's a lot of dope going around there.
Yeah. Well, in the Bay Area, they package it up with Coke. So
what?
There was that.
So you get like, you can buy an 8-ball?
You get a speedball.
A speedball, you can just buy a speedball like that? Damn,
yeah, Jiva, look what you missed out on, dude.
I was in Berlin hanging out. I was in Berlin shooting up in projects in Berlin somewhere where you were in the Bay Area. What year was this around for you?
98, 99, 2000. Yeah.
Okay, I was clean in 97. But before that, I was doing the same thing just in Berlin. All right, so.
The streets are safer now, Jiva. But not. I don't know. It's still out there.
I think they are safe. They're just different. Things are different, aren't they? It's just everybody's moved to Kensington. That is not even a joke. It's a horrible pandemic. I've never seen anything quite as frightening as that. Really, that is frightening.
It is.
My heart goes out to everyone who suffers.
Desperate.
It's so desperate. It's horrific. All
Well,
right, sorry,
and
we went
like
off.
existing like that too.
Ah,
It's gross. And
it's
while I'm talking about having, a job on the side of my career as an addict, I had to supplement it in other ways. And there were
right.
crimes and there was behavior and, at the end of, so I sobered up in the Bay Area 2001, and it's right kind of at the advent of like Craigslist. And there was like, I remember going on Craigslist at one point and thinking like, I wonder if I could find a sugar daddy, like using social media, like someone
God,
to like take care of me. Isn't that,
mhm.
it's just gross.
Well, you
Yeah.
know what? It's the diseased condition. It's our diseased condition, and it's what we think that,
Seems like a good
there's so many,
idea.
yeah, it's like it's freaking great idea 3,742 that wound up in crash and burn,
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Yeah, there's no glamour to it. I mean, glamour in the definition of the word is, there's like um, a beauty that we think is in that thing contains, but it's actually an illusion. So this
Yeah.
illusion, following these illusory uh, ideas that just continued to take you down, and that's how
Yeah.
it had to be, being born in this diseased condition. So getting sober, I went to a boot camp style treatment center.
Nice, nice.
And it's what I needed. And then I got kicked out of that. It
Oh
was a
God, was it like
long-term treatment.
Synanon, or was it Synanon, or what
The
was it
name
called?
of It's called Newbridge,
Okay,
and
it's not the same.
in
Okay.
Berkeley. So I don't know if they still do some of the practices, but like if very quickly, I was supposed to be there for 6 months, and very quickly I had like, because in absence of drugs and alcohol, I went to the next behavior, which was trying to like manipulate guys.
Hmm.
And so quickly I was, uh, I got take the privilege, quote unquote, of talking to men was taken away from me. So I had to bond with women. And
Wow.
it was a beautiful thing really for me. I have this memory of being in the like shaving my legs in the shower in this women's dorm, and the water was kind of like the level in the tub was rising because the drain was sort of stuck, and it was like all of this leg hair floating around. It wasn't all mine, and having this realization that like I am, I'm
My
where I'm
OCD,
exactly
my OCD just like hit the roof right now,
like
thinking about other
went to
people's hair legs in my bathtub. I literally, my knees just went weak. I swear to God, I am like the most picky about that. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah,
Right.
I know
So
it's
you
such
had
a
this
gross
realization.
visual. But that I'm exactly where I need to be. I just not It's just so like I
Mm,
was bathing on the regular, with a bunch of
mhm.
women, that
Right.
I'm one of them. I should be hanging out with women. Women are going to help me. It's like they say, um, uh, what the phrase is escaping me. Like a man in recovery in 12 step isn't going to help you. They might pat you on the ass, but what you need is to hang with the women who are going to, I can't remember how the phrase goes.
Well, they're
Blech.
not going to have any
But
ulterior motives, of course. They're going
yeah,
to, they're going to empower you and nurture you and help you. And I think there's a whole nother energy,
yes,
it's a whole nother, I agree with you. Absolutely. Same
yeah.
experience.
So that was an awakening in the shower,
Hmm.
and just realizing like these women are trying to help me. They're trying to help themselves, and so I ended up in a halfway house, in Oakland, and not too long after that, um, moved to the Northwest and started my
Mm.
life over here. But um, yeah, that's a big history, and I didn't, you know, um, let me just go back to this when I first
Sure.
met the devotees. Um,
Was this in recovery?
this no, I was
You
in
had not?
college.
Okay. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went to the University of Colorado in Boulder, and there was a Krishna house that, yeah, I don't know, there, because I was learning how to get my needs met in a different way. I would go to Sunday feast at the Krishna house, but only go for the food. I wasn't there for the lecture. And so one evening, I showed up at in line, and the line, it was kind of summertime. Um, the line was outside and behind the house, leading to where they had the station to serve up the
Mhm.
food. And I'm standing in line. I was alone, and the person in front of me turned around, and he had a baseball hat on. It was so dorky, and um, it was. I'm embarrassed. So this was like '91. It was a Red Hot Chili Peppers hat with their logo, and um, not, I don't know, a couple of weeks before that, I had lost that very hat in a blackout. And I was like, "Hey man, where'd you get that hat? I think that's my hat." And I started this, like, I started engaging this guy. "I think that's my hat. Did you find that hat?" And he just turned around, right? He turned to face the line, and I tap him, and I'm like, "Man, I think that's my hat. I'm pretty sure that's my hat. Can I have it?" You know, just this ridiculousness. And he turns around and he looks me in the eyes and he says, "Fuck you," like that. And so I snap. This is in line at to
From
get,
Prasad.
yeah.
Oh
I
my
snatch the hat
gosh.
off his head and take like 5 big steps running, trying to run away. I snatch the hat, run away. He tackles me, and
No way.
yes, and everything like goes haywire. And the people standing there who are trying to be I don't even know, just they're innocent bystanders.
Yeah.
um Someone
Like,
leans
I'm
out of the
just trying to
window.
get
What's
some lunch here, guys. Can
Yeah.
you take this somewhere else?
Oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. And
No, it's not, Leslie. It's
but
I'm sure
this is
there's way
when
more embarrassing things in your life or in mine as
oh
well.
yeah,
So that's probably one of the innocent ones, but that's fine.
yeah, I mean, but that's how reckless I was. So I'm on the ground. This guy's on top of me. He takes the hat back. One of the devotees leans out of the window of the kitchen and says, "What's going on?" And people in line are explaining what happens. And the person leaning out of the window said, "Remember what we talked about in lecture today about not being attached to material objects?" And
Here's what happens. You took my Pepper's hat. I'm gonna kill you, dude.
so I walked home in shame, having this realization of like that seed planted of
Hmm.
not being attached to material objects. Um, I didn't eat. I will say I didn't get any food that day, no prashad. But I had this little seed planted,
Nice.
and
I love this. I think I'm gonna name this episode leg hair, leg hair and fights online at Prasad. I'm
yeah.
loving this one. All right. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank
Oh,
you. No, this, like, even just saying that out loud brings, I feel the resolution in my heart of I was 19. I was just a kid, and
Yeah, of course. You're
I
just a
was
kid.
driven by my senses. I was an addict. Um,
Yes.
and I still, there were still some years ahead of, there were 10 more years ahead of me of using. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Okay, I just had to like recalibrate myself. So, yeah, there were a lot of moves, a lot of geographicals,
Mm.
a lot of jobs, some consistent relationships. So I had, the boyfriend that we did the crimes together, and he and I managed to survive.
Wow.
And unfortunately, I don't know his fate. And he's one of the big amends that regarding 12-step work,
Hmm.
that is, he hangs, this person kind of hangs over my heart a little bit with, not making direct amends to him.
Is there any way you can do
And
that?
oh, I'm sure, I mean, there's always a way, right? um
Have you gotten to the
I've
ninth step yet?
Yes, yes, I have done steps multiple times in
Yeah.
several different fellowships. I started in NA, in Narcotics Anonymous, because I really identified as an addict.
Yes, I get
But
that.
found AA, found Alcoholics Anonymous, mostly because of the language.
Yes,
I loved the language of the big book and the literature.
absolutely.
And yeah,
I always found NA a place to know where I came from, and
yeah,
AA is the place that I want to go to.
yeah.
Um, Not that I don't, I mean, I guess my steady diet and recovery in the beginning was AA and NA. I did predominantly AA, but I always went to one or two meetings a week to NA.
Hmm.
But AA was where I got my recovery, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And um, the so I moved here with about 9 months clean and sober, but it was like institutional sobriety, like being in a
Yes.
treatment center and then being in a halfway house. So being free range, finding Narcotics Anonymous in the area I live in, there's a lot of meth here, and uh, the the meetings had a lot of activity and people standing and leaving and walking and going out to have a smoke break, and it was a little too rocky for where I was too. I mean,
Hmm.
we talked before we started recording about that I'm probably ADD, and
Yeah.
getting getting
Yeah.
sober, getting clean and sober, um, and not being able to sit still in a meeting, was something I learned through people at the meeting. Um, being the person in the back of the room, like chatting and passing gum around and like, hey man, you know, that kind of personality, I was shut down really quickly in AA. And I needed that. Like, I remember
Yes.
this guy turned around to me and he goes, I'm leaning into the camera for people. Just imagine, here I am. This guy leans in and
I'm
he's
getting
like,
this one good.
this guy's like, people are dying to hear this message. And if you're not ready, you need to get the fuck out of here. And I was like,
Wow.
because that's what you get sometimes in meetings, like the hard
Yeah.
ass
You need
that is
it.
going to regulate. Yeah. So I couldn't control my senses. And this person, God talking through this man, you know,
Yep.
shut me down, Jiva. And,
Good.
you know, another one of those,
I've gotten shut down at meetings too. I know exactly what that feels like. And I've shut
like,
other people down too.
yes,
I've done both.
yes,
I've had both.
exactly. Yeah. So like just kind of exploring where I needed to be, you know, as much as I explored in my addiction, you know, what's going to work for me, I had to find where I was going to hear the message, and um, found women's meetings in
Nice.
Alcoholics Anonymous. Um, and, you know, have done everything in recovery, done the, you know, held service positions. Like I remember being, I don't know, probably I was about 7 years sober by the time I had a key to a church and was a treasurer. Having this revelation, like 7 years ago, no one would have given me a key to a damn church. Like there's,
Yeah, really.
you know, like having, like doing the work and acting as if
Being the sparrow. Being the sparrow.
there was so much determination and
Yeah.
faith and finding, like, you know, exploring spirituality too, because that was also part of an interest. You know, after I met the devotees, I became a religious studies minor in uni and studied Eastern religions. That, man, I was in Boulder, and you know, you can't swing a dead cat in Boulder without seeing, you know, like there's the Naropa Institute there, you know, there's devotees, there's a lot of kind of like new agey thought there too. And so being exposed to yoga asana, and kind of new, quote unquote, new age thinking.
New age, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that was really attractive to me. So after I got clean and sober and started working steps, you know, the coming to believe in a power greater than myself, step 2, that was an awakening. And of course, but it made a lot of sense to me at the time to have, you know, this sort of the universe as my higher power.
Whatever works at the time, you know.
Yeah,
whatever works at the time.
For a long time. And what I like with step 2, what I like to share about that is, you know, step 1, that I'm powerless over my diseased condition and my life had become unmanageable. That was obvious.
Blatantly obvious, yeah.
It was so obvious.
We just had to figure out if we gave a shit or not, right? I mean, that was for me. I was like,
Yeah.
I know, but
Yeah, but this is fun.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
God, I know. Step 2, I also kind of compartmentalized because, you know, it's came to believe that a power greater than myself, and then I stopped. So I didn't get the could restore me to sanity part for some years, until I was about 5 years clean and sober. And I had done the step working guide in NA, which is this
very long,
kind of notorious. Yeah, have you're familiar?
I've
with
done it. Yeah, I've done
it,
and I've taken sponsees through it. To tell you the truth, it's excruciating for me
it
with
is
my ADHD. It's like, fucking, come on, guys, let's get this ball rolling, guys. It's a little too much words there, but yeah. I guess it's, you know, I've seen it be very positive for people, especially Germans. They love it. The Germans eat that up, man. They're very intellectual people, very heady people. And I think all that writing and all of that stuff was very
exhaustive
good for them. I did it like, because my sponsor told me to, so I did, but I was just, it was grueling for me to do that, actually.
It is grueling. Yeah. But necessary. I think
sure,
because of that, you know, there's, you know, like 40 questions in each step, and you're like, there's more to this. But, you know, it's sort of like asking a question a bunch of different ways. So
totally, absolutely. I'm like,
the step work.
Answer this again.
I thought I answered this one already.
Yeah, exactly. Duh. See see question 1A,
One part
duh.
2. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not answering this again.
Yeah. Sort of like reinforcing and exposing and purifying at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, one of my friends, like she came into a meeting, and this is some years and years ago, when I was doing the step working guide, and she's like, "You guys, my step working guide blew off the top of my car on my way down here."
Get
And I
out of
didn't
here.
go. Yeah, I didn't go pick it up, she said, and I was like, "Wow, lucky," you know. But
Was it done? Did she had she filled it all out?
no,
No. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
no. I mean, she just like boom, it blew off her car, and
That's like
she
my
kept
dog ate
driving.
my homework. My dog
Yeah.
ate my homework. It's like, yeah, you left it on the top of your car and it blew away.
Oh my God. Mhm. Yeah. So I don't know. I've done steps in every kind of way because of my artistic tendencies, with others, with sponsees. Sometimes we'll do like collages, or,
Love that.
very physical things, like, for my 2-year birthday, we hiked Mount St. Helens,
My
which,
God.
yeah, it's a non-technical slog uphill for miles. And
Oh my God. Remind me
yeah,
never to ask you to do anything like that with me.
I hear that from people all the time. Like,
Oh,
if
hell
Leslie
no.
says, "Hey, try this," don't do it. But because like the physical, like, expression has been part of my recovery. I got clean.
Yeah.
I started running. I have been doing yoga since the 90s, yoga asana. That's a good story too. Um, I So Mount St. Helens, we hiked to the top. You can look down into the caldera where this mountain blew. That it was this ash cone, a cinder cone that blew the top in 1981.
Wow.
It's really pretty magical, standing on the top of it, blowing bubbles for a third step. Like, I am surrendering my will and my life to my higher power on the top of a mountain.
That's
Um,
beautiful.
yeah, so doing
Because
things
these
like
things are
that.
actions, right? These things are
Yeah.
action. And if we don't, this is something that I also truly believe in. We can't think our way into good acting. We can act our way into good thinking, and we can even act our way into good acting. It's like,
Yeah,
the thing is people might think, oh,
you have
that's
to
so
take
silly.
action.
Yeah, like, oh, that's silly. Go to the top of a mountain and blow bubbles. How stupid is that? That's not stupid. That's probably one of the most logical, easiest, or not easiest, simplest ways to show your surrender in an action.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. I mean, it's like chanting. We chant. Maybe people think like, oh,
Thank
that's
God.
so ridiculous. That's so ridiculous. So you're just going to say this name over and over again till you're blue in the face. And what is that supposed to do? Now, let me tell you something. I am not a fan of chanting. I'm just not, because I haven't had that connection. But it is an action of surrender. And whatever action of surrender that is, whether it's blowing bubbles in a mountain, whether it's chanting 16 rounds a day, the holy name, I know people are going to kill me for making this comparison, but whatever it is that we take, whatever it is that we use in that as an actual tool, and really make it into an action, and really have our hearts in the right place, then we've done what we need to do. And we keep doing those things. And if it means you have to climb up that mountain every day, just to blow bubbles for 5 minutes, then you climb up that mountain every day and blow bubbles for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and
who the hell do we think we are judging everyone? Like, I feel it in myself. I feel it in myself sometimes, like, oh, that's stupid. That's dumb. Not with you, but I just mean with, with certain things, or what's that supposed to do? Or, my stupid brain with my stupid judgment. Shut up, Jiva. Shut up. Like, just because it's not something that I relate to doesn't mean that anyone else can't. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, we're all or nothing.
Yeah.
We are all or nothing. And the critical mind I criticize myself. My own mind criticizes my actions. And
Yes.
this is something that I'm getting to in Coda, merged with Bhakti.
Wow.
My mind is, like you say, it's a dangerous neighborhood. And
Yeah.
so if I can dovetail these thoughts into service, into action, acting as if sometimes, like I have to act as if in order to get the juice. And eventually, hopefully, that takes hold because I have a sincere heart.
Yes.
Because I have a sincere heart, and I sincerely followed the path of addiction. I was dedicated to it. I had faith and
24/7
determination.
job. Yeah.
Standing, at a payphone waiting for the guy to text or page me back.
It's like the drug
Um,
dharma. Like that's our dharma, being a drug addict. We're gonna follow that to the
yeah,
best of our ability. Yeah.
yeah. And now I can take those behaviors where I can lock on like a pit bull and
Mm.
use it in service of Radha and Krishna. And the when I was, I don't know, maybe a year ago, a friend from Bhakti. I have so many amazing associations in Bhakti yoga. I'm so grateful. She said she's not an addict, and she goes, "Do you love this so much because you're an addict? And like you don't, this like gives you,
What a question.
yeah, this gives you a place to be an addict." I'm like, "What are you saying, lady?" You know, as a non-addict, she doesn't understand how an addict mind works.
Right.
And this is after 20 something years of recovery too, that my mind is I need to channel it somewhere. We all do.
Oh
I mean, that's
yeah.
yoga. Yoga is
Of
trying to
course.
still the ripples of the mind so our true nature can, so we can witness our true nature.
That's every yoga
And
form, and especially
exactly.
bhakti yoga form, because that's an action. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was a question that, uh, in the moment I was taken aback by it, but rolled with it because, like, I mean, it got me here. It got me here on fire for Krishna Bhakti. And because, like, I don't have direct association on the daily in person, except with a friend in my city who has kind of followed me into,
Mm-hmm.
she's drank the Kool-Aid, the Tang,
She drank the tang. Yeah.
just by
Oh,
my
I gotta put that in the
example.
show notes too. Tang, tang,
Tang,
tang.
yeah, like the color of your wall behind you is the Tang color, and that's actually how it came up for me when COVID hit, because COVID is when I found, like, for real, locked into Bhakti Yoga. I had read, as part of a book club during COVID, a translation of the Bhagavad Gita, and it wasn't Prabhupada's translation. And I read it and just felt, I was like, God, this is beautiful, but it just doesn't feel like it's enough. Like it's not giving me enough.
Wow. Do you know who it was? Who was
And
translated? Who
it was the
did the book quotes?
Ashvaran, the Eknath Ashvaran one, which I had read before. I've read it a couple of times, like doing yoga teacher trainings. And,
Mm-hmm.
I've got a handful of different translations and I've read multiple. And
Have you read the Shivananda one? Have you read the Shivananda?
no, is that another
If
one
you're
you're
ever
sending me?
interested.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
nice one.
Yeah.
Although as it is my favorite, but
Well, yeah, and I had that for years. I have, yeah, I have had a copy of As It Is, and it just didn't resonate with my heart until it was time.
yeah.
And that was the time during the lockdown when,
Wow.
um, yeah, man. So, like, I had done this inner child work around Tang and sugar and addiction, and how that was really, it was, like, I actually had a little plushie that I was directed to love, like this, um
Sorry, inner
someone
work around Tang. That's it.
yeah, dude. Everything in my life, I looked around and I had all of this stuff that is orange. Our brand identity to our business is orange. Like here's my business card is orange.
Wow.
Oh, and there's Lord Jagannath. This I
You're
was just showing
talking
G
to
about my
someone who
phone.
lives in an orange room. You have an orange
Yeah,
shirt
dude.
on,
Well,
though,
this
don't you?
used to be orange, and I painted it like a year or so into. I just like needed to express myself. And here's anyway. I'll leave that alone. But I had an orange dog. I had an orange water bottle. I had an orange whatever. I just listed off all these things that I realized that this was, I can pull this thread back to Tang through surrounding myself in this color, but took that and made it an asset. Instead of it being a liability, which we do in
Mhm.
our step work, we take our greatest liabilities and turn them into assets. So my nature, I was attracted to this orange. And at 17, 18 years clean and sober, was ready to do the work around inner child healing,
Mm.
and
Mm.
wrote exhaustively, and shared that with a sponsor, and realized that these behaviors of addiction could be traced back so early. But then in my current life, being attracted to the vibrancy that you get with color, and like 80s kid, Susie and the Banshees, all that stuff. I wore a lot of black.
Black.
And yeah, and I try not to now, because I want to elevate myself, and color matters. So like embracing up, I have like strings of marigolds hanging from my ceiling up there, just to kind of
Nice.
groove in with the Tang. So if you look at like this traditional sort of 7 chakra system, orange is the color of the second chakra, which is creativity. And that also being a layer to this, like bringing in the energetic body into healing. I can talk all hard and street, but I'm also like, I have that, attraction to the subtle body,
Of course.
and then bringing that into integration. So this comes back full circle to, something I mentioned at the beginning of our talk, of trying to integrate all of these personalities, where I was, I learned how to be Jekyll and Hyde. I had
And
lived.
now the honeycomb. All those little compartments are made, and you're the honeycomb. You're
Oh
the
my God,
honeycomb. You're a
honeycomb.
honeycomb.
Honeycomb, big.
Honeycomb.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Honeycomb. No, how does it go?
It's
Honeycomb.
not small. No, no,
No,
no.
no. Oh my God. Where did you remember that?
Well,
Honeycomb.
okay. So, yeah, man, this is the shit my head has in it. So yes, I had to direct it to Krishna. Yes, I have to find be in the guardrails. Be in those guardrails, because I will go to a commercial that I haven't thought of in 40 years, because
Yeah,
that's what's in my head.
Like when you told me my hair looks like Trudy. Was it Trudy? No, not Trudy. Was it Trudy from the Facts of Life? No, Trudy wasn't in the Facts of Life. Was Trudy in the Facts of Life?
Joe.
Wait, who was Trudy? Trudy was in another series. Who was Trudy?
Oh, no, you're thinking Tootie.
Who's Tootie?
The black girl, the only black girl on the show that lived in the.
Oh, so it was Tootie. Yeah,
Tootie.
okay, so it was her. Yeah, okay.
No, Joe was the kind of butchy girl that had the ponytails that hung off the back of her head. And oh God, you guys. So Jiva and I were talking about this last week, because I told her I had Joe hair from the Facts of Life, and so she sent me the song, the theme song to the show, and I listened to it and realized like how that is Maya, like, and the struggle to want to elevate yourself, because the
Struggle's real.
lyric, it's got the
The
struggle is
struggle's
so real.
real.
Thank God it's real.
So
The
wait.
lyric goes, you take the good, you take the bad,
Take
you
the
take
good, you
them
take the
both,
bad. And there
and
you
there you
have
have the facts of life. So what did I paired it with
Hare
Bhagavad Gita
Krishna.
2. Yeah, what was it?
Hey
It
guys,
was
if
a
you want to be
chapter.
enlightened, if you want spiritual enlightenment, you have to do this with Leslie and I. Actually, I think Raghu would love to jump on this one too. Raghu is also one of them who loves to Krishnaize everything with 70s TV trash.
Trash? You think
No,
it's
not
trash,
trash.
Jiva?
You're
No,
like,
I'm
you're like,
kidding.
ha ha ha, and then like trash. You know what I always say to Raghu? I go, Raghu, like Ruby, Ruby, Ruby. He's like Scooby Doo. Oh my
Oh
God. Anyway, so
God.
okay,
I feel
so
like I'm so sorry, you guys, if you're trying to follow this and there's just too many
too many sidetracks, too many squirrels going on. Yeah, we are definitely
squirrel
but this is
sisters.
yeah, but this is really fun actually. I'm hoping you guys are also having fun. Um okay, so honeycomb. You're the honeycomb. Are you trying to find the verse that
Yeah,
you did for the facts of life?
yeah, it was a chapter 2 verse. Okay, I'm just gonna ignore it, and we can add it to the show notes later if it
Oh right,
matters,
yeah, you have
or
to give that to me.
it'll come to me. Um, Integration.
Right. You became
At
the
the
honeycomb.
at the beginning, yeah, thank you for that. With the song and everything. Um, at the beginning of this year, in my step work, I it's not small.
Oh my God. You're
Like,
you're killing me over here. I'm gonna have this song in my head all day and I'm gonna torture you with it because I'm gonna keep sending you that song over and over again. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. Revenge is mine, darling. All right, go ahead.
oh, it's important, like that was okay. So when I first started listening to Wisdom of the Sages, one of the first things I heard Raghunath say is, you're going to have things in your head, you're going to have thoughts going on. So you might as well direct those thoughts to,
Right.
to elevate the thoughts to Krishna.
Yes.
And I went, oh, yeah, you're right. You are so right, because I wake up with songs in my head, or the critical mind. My critical mind is alive. It, even with years and years of step work and um, trying to harness that mind, the turbulent mind, it has brought a softening to me that, I mean, my heart has just opened and softened by harnessing it, by mantra meditation. And,
Right.
for me, it mantra meditation isn't enough.
Yeah.
I have to keep
I
in the
get that.
recovery process.
Oh yeah.
There's, I mean, it's the layers of the onion. And um, so at the beginning of the year, I claimed integration as my word. Like, this is going to be the year of integration. Um, what has come of this year is, my husband and I were partners with a third partner, a family member, in our restaurant business. And not soon after I made this grand claim, we began legal partnership dissolution with this family member. Yeah, it's been the most intense, blinding stress, anxiety, fear, of my entire recovery, and of our 20-year marriage. The business is 28 years old. I married into the business, and found my place in the business, and it's relatively successful, even in light of the post-COVID landscape.
Yeah.
Of the just business has changed. And anyway, so endeavoring on this legal partnership dissolution, I was in a sage group, which is by the grace of how the wisdom of the sages has developed these beautiful sage groups with some incredible devotees from the Baltimore area, describing what was happening. So here I am claiming integration, and around me, my material life is falling apart, and it had been falling apart for a while. Like I kept like noticing just things that I thought were important to me being fucking stripped away by Lord Hari. Like, oh, really? You think this is important? Well, guess what? I'm going to take it away from you because it's not important anymore to you. And you're going to depend on me, Krishna is saying. Wow. And so in the sage group, describing what's happening, the most intense anxiety and fear going into this legal battle, the sage group leader said, "You sound like Arjuna on the battlefield, turning towards Krishna."
Sweet.
And yeah, so like that's living what I'm being taught, living what I'm reading. Whereas it had been just kind of
a distant story.
Like, yeah, exactly. Ooh, I like that, distant. I'm going to use that.
Yes.
Distant, and then becoming real and integrated. So while, I'm seeing this now as great purging, as purification, as, being exactly where I'm supposed to be. Like, isn't that what you hear in 12-step all the time? Like, your ass is falling off and people are like, you're exactly where you need to be.
Yeah, you're like, I'm going to throw my ass at your face right now if you're saying that. Pick it back up, put it in a bag, and go to a meeting.
Exactly. Yeah. And staying close to recovery. So staying close to 12-step recovery, which has borne major fruit and love and community. And I have to stress, Jiva, how important it is to go to in-person meetings.
Yes, of course.
This is the foundation of being connected and in relationship with others. God speaks to us through other people. Yes. You said yesterday in our business meeting, like, this is a gang of drunks, like, and God is God, like getting a group of people together. You're going to hear, you're going to get corrected, you're going to have revelations, you're going to, sometimes it's coming from someone like, I would never have expected to have a lesson from that guy with fleas sitting across from me at the, at the table in the basement of a church. Like, you just don't know where you're going to get the message.
A guy with fleas. Is that a thing? Can someone have fleas?
Yeah, man. People can be in most, like in a meeting, there can be people that are loaded.
Oh yeah, sure. I've
there, but for the grace of God,
I used to be one of those people.
Totally.
I frequented meetings for 8 years before I got sober.
Yes.
Nodding out in the back. Out in the back. To tell you the truth, doing drugs in the bathroom and coming back to the meeting. Just just freaking sacrilege. But I knew I needed to be there. I just knew I wasn't ready. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to be clean. And I think that was my gift, was that I used for 8 solid years wanting to stop. I used against my own will for 8 solid years, literally against my own will, until I got so beaten that I just surrendered. What a fortunate place. What a fortunate place. This we're talking about all of this stuff and you're sharing your story, and this is all so amazing. What I've been thinking of the last few days actually is this. All we are here for on this earth And we can back it up with any shastra. I can back this up with anything from the shastras. I can back this up with any religion, with anything. We're here to remember. That's it. We're not here to accumulate knowledge. We're not here to accumulate all of this stuff. If the knowledge brings us to the space of knowing that we are not the body, we are not the mind, knowing that we are part and partial, and remembering that we are part and partial of God, then bless it and so be it. But if you don't need all those words and you know this deeply in your heart and you act in that way and you do the things that empower you to keep that frame of mind, that's where we should be. That's my opinion. That's my experience. It's about remembering. Yeah.
Wow. I just felt my whole energy change with that.
Oh,
Beautiful and truth. It's truth. And how truth speaks to the heart.
yeah.
And with remembering
so little
like,
words. So little words.
yeah.
Just very minimum amount of words.
Mhm.
At least for me, I can't, I love studying the Vedas. I love reading the Gita. I love reading the Bhagavatam. I love reading all these books. But I often find myself drowning in words because it takes me away from the essence sometimes. I know it's there to lead you to the essence, but sometimes it's like, okay, can we,
Yeah.
I know where this is going and I know what the essence is. Like and that's the one thing that I need. This is the one thing I need very much in my life, is that quiet time to cut everything out. Just no words, nothing. Just listen, love, feel, connect with my heart. That's it. Yeah. So
Connect.
yeah. So we've been going for a long time.
I know.
Do you want to let's give us another couple of minutes?
Okay.
We didn't really, I don't know if this was like, didn't really finish your story, but we kind of did because we're here. And
Yeah.
so you came into the program, you got into Bhakti, and then at 20 years, you started to uncover, there was the, you had the pandemic, now you're in this lawsuit, you're uncovering the inner child thing. You have been working the CODA program. You go to Bhakti Recovery Group and you go to in-person meetings. So where are you now? We put that all together, put that in the honeycomb. Now we want some nectar.
Honeycomb.
Let's get some honey.
Yeah. And that metaphor too that we hear a lot in our tradition of, you have to taste the honey.
Yeah.
You were just talking about like being buried in words, and, until we can really apply, the simplicity, the essence, the Dharma, the true essence of what we're hearing, and in that moment of remembering, and keep coming back to it, like, because we forget.
Yes.
Krishna gives us
keep
the power
coming
to forget.
Totally.
Yeah. So where I am now is, I've had the blessing of doing these steps in the workbook of Codependency Anonymous, and we're moving through a step a month using the workbook in BRG. And we're doing it as a group, which is really nice. But the revelations that I have had with 10th step are, in step 10. So we work the steps in order. Even though, coming into recovery, you want to get through them. But even just showing up in a meeting is doing the 12th step, that we're sharing the message of recovery with others, even with, less time than we have. Or you can have a mountain of time, quote, whatever that looks like, and still have attributes that aren't attractive,
Right.
if, you can, we have to work this program. It takes action, and it takes faith. It takes determination. Yeah, I think taking a daily inventory actively, because of this mind that I have, where I can go in so many different directions, harnessing it into having a daily inventory, being reminded of that in 10th month, 10th step, that this has been a really nice practice for realizing the importance of that daily inventory, the spot check inventory, which we are encouraged to do throughout the day. That's when I can check myself and talk to Krishna, talk to my higher power in the moment of being out of alignment and coming back to center. One of my beloved teachers talks a lot about the gyroscope, and when you get a gyroscope spinning, it's like that wire sphere that has a central core, and you can turn the gyroscope on its side and it can balance on the corner of my laptop like that. I can be spinning over here in behavior, in reaction, in hankering. But then if I can find that moment, the spot check inventory where I can reconnect, the gyroscope will right itself, will recalibrate upright and to center. And that is, that's something that I can learn. We can learn to do that. It is a practice. And how amazing it's a practice. And how quickly can I come back to that place where I can check myself and not beat myself up in the moment and just laugh? It's Arjuna turning to Krishna in his despair, in his desperation, the gift of desperation, turning to Krishna and Krishna smiling.
Yeah.
He's just waiting. And, I have to cut through the layer of like that self-judgment, and because that's not helping me. So that's also, I guess, this inner child work is continuing even here, because wherever I learned that story of criticizing myself, it doesn't work anymore. And that's something, all of these anartas, the definition is, this is something with no value. This character defect I have has no value anymore. So I can turn it into an asset. I can, instead of having a critical mind toward myself, have some love and, know that I'm 100% supported and sheltered by Krishna, and through association with devotees, I get this mercy. I get the taste. I get the the humor of that moment of being in out of alignment. I just heard a talk by Keshava Maharaj where he was talking about Kamsa, and it's the moment where Kamsa hears the disembodied voice. He's got Devaki in the chariot, and she's going to her wedding, and he's taking her, and he hears this disembodied voice say, the eighth child of Devaki is going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And in the talk, this wonderful lecture, he says, Kamsa is described as a beast of burden, because he carries such heaviness, all of the demoniac qualities, and having that we can all identify, where do I see these qualities in myself, and how can I surrender them? Instead of being a beast of burden in that moment, in that 10th step spot check, how can I just rise above it, acknowledge it, maybe talk to another addict. I do that a lot. I'll call a friend or text a friend or send a friend at something stupid, on their WhatsApp, and have that valve. Like, I got to tell you what I just did. So, that being a really important tool as well. Like, not stewing in being kamsa, being demoniac, but having the wherewithal to
address it, own it,
just,
release it,
yes.
and do better the next time, right?
Yeah. And when it happens, if it happens the next time, to say, okay, yeah, be within the guardrails, and
Sure.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. 12 steps in Bhakti, just improve, walking towards God, away from the bad dog. We feed the good dog.
Yeah.
So thank you, Leslie. This was such a nice talk.
Thank you,
And
Jiva.
I'm really happy you came
Thank
the
you.
show.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, we'll have you again. And I hope you have a really nice week. I'm off to India in a couple of days. So I'll be doing the show from there.
You're amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the fact that you found time to sit and jabberjaw with me for this amount of time before you're going to India. Thank you. I mean, really, it feels like such a blessing in my life.
Well, it's important. Yeah. I think it's important. I think you have a great story to tell, and somebody needs to hear it. Somebody out there, just your story and everything you said, someone's going to relate to it, and someone's going to love it, and you're going to be helping somebody. And I want to be a facilitator of that. I just want to connect people. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that? And do you have anything, like, you're a yoga teacher? Do you do yoga? Mm-hmm. Do you teach yoga at all on a professional level, or no?
In person, yeah. I do.
Well, plug yourself. Plug it here.
Oh my goodness. I guess Instagram at Leslie Venti, LESLIEVENTI. And what I've been doing as a yoga teacher is working with another teacher to bring Bhakti into my yoga. And
Great.
I do teach in a gym, which is, I try to cultivate a space for these people in a gym. Yeah.
Great.
Where they're hearing, they're hearing
perfect place
literature.
To be. It's actually the perfect place to be.
Yeah.
It's great. It's like going to the belly of the beast. Like, where do we go?
Mm-hmm.
Where did Jesus go? He went to the prostitutes. Not, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We have to reach into the margins. This, do you know
want to preach to the choir? Why should we preach to the choir? I mean, we can preach to the choir, but I mean, how are we going to grow? So
we have to make this accessible to others,
so it's great.
When I talk about, like, I had an experience a few weeks ago where I talked about how this yoga is preparing us to die. And
you're like, I don't want to hear this. Let me get on that. Let me go on the cycling thing over there. Let me go on the pool today. I don't want to deal with this.
Exactly. And that being, as it's coming out of my mouth, it felt really good. It felt authentic. It felt in the moment of, yes, like, these people are ready to hear this. And several people came up to me after class and said, thank you. I needed to hear that today. That this beautiful. It's not just about, a healthy physical body, or trying to bring your mind to a level where you can relax, that we are working towards elevating ourselves so we can die with love in our heart for higher power. So
that's beautiful.
I mean, it's edited a little bit, but
it's still beautiful. Okay, so Leslie Venti. And you're also a freelancer for I was going to say visual merchandising, because that's what I used to do for graphics, right?
Do a little bit of that. Yeah, just because of yes, if someone can find me on Instagram for that. It's not something I've pursued much in the last few years, just because of buckling down on trying to keep our businesses, our brick and
Yes.
mortar businesses afloat.
Okay.
Of course, I have, I use this skill to as a service sometimes
Great.
in Bhakti, and
Thank
sometimes
you.
as a kook as well. But yeah, thank you for giving me the platform to share my story. And so many others have 12-stepped me and spoon-fed me Bhakti, and this is it's saving my life.
It's wonderful. I'm so glad you were here.
It's helping me learn how to die.
Yes. And to live, right?
Oh yeah. Oh well.
Anyway, obviously. All right. Thank you, Leslie. Have a really good week. I'll
Thank you,
talk to you
Beth.
soon. Thanks again.
Safe travels.
Haribol. Thanks.
All right,
Haribol.
Bull.
This concludes another episode. Thanks for listening. In order for me to serve this community to the best of my ability, I welcome feedback. Please write your feedback at bhaktirecoverypodcast@gmail.com. That's bhaktirecoverypodcast@gmail.com. Also, please don't forget to follow and give us a 5-star rating. Share this with family and friends. If you'd like to join our Bhakti Recovery community or just find out what we're all about, please visit our website at www.bhaktirecoverygroup.com. That's www.bhaktirecoverygroup.com. There are no dues or fees, and we meet daily. If you or someone you know is struggling with addictions and/or associated behaviors, you will find links in our show notes to various 12-step programs. Nobody seeking recovery need ever be alone again.
सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज.
The miseries of material existence and the most hopeless conditions of life is the best possible opportunity to turn to God.